Turn on your microphone. I
on.
guess we're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Mark Hamilton. We're going to call this meeting to order of the Community and Economic Development Authority on February 22nd, 2024. It is 7:01 a.m. and we will start the meeting with a roll call. Joyce.
Garcia, Sierra, Hamilton,
Here.
Hardy,
Here.
Maldonado,
Here.
Potts,
Here.
Sanders,
Here.
Udell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes from January 25th, 2004. Everybody got a copy of them with their agenda. I would entertain, is there any discussion on the minutes?
I'd make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? If not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is public appearances for non-agenda items. There is no one in the room that's not associated with the committee. I don't know if there's anybody who is registered. Anybody? No, we have been getting the high sign that nobody has registered. So we'll move on to the next item, which is item number 5, resolution and ordinances. Mike and Joyce, is there anything to present today? Okay, we have nothing to present. We'll move on next to the hotel room tax report. Joyce.
Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
The final numbers that came in for 2023. So as you can see, for the fourth quarter, we collected $128,482. So we ended the year for 2023 at $556,888, and that was a 14% increase, 14.3 over 2022. And as you can see, in comparing that to our previous high year of 2019, pre-COVID, when we were at 525, that's our highest year ever in room tax collections. So any questions on the amount? And then as far as payments out, the one that Carrie reconciled for us through the finance department was just the payment for the lunches for the business appreciation luncheon that we had back on October 31st, payment to Promega Corporation, where we had it at the Kornberg Center. And then we don't have any expenditure requests at this point in time. Although Joyce and I are looking in setting up the Fitchburg retail department. So once we do that, there may be some expenditures that we come to stock up our retail items.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Do you need a motion to accept this report?
No, we usually just report it out.
Okay, that's fine. All right, if there's any discussion or questions about Mike's report? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7 on the agenda, and it is a report of the Fitchburg Sustainability Baseline and Reduction Recommendations. So Phil Groupie's supposed to give this report. Mike or Joyce, is Phil on?
I don't see him yet.
Still on the call?
No, he reported last night that he had a sick little one, so he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to be on this morning or not. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of the reason why we shared this draft report. Based on the fact that we are the Community and Economic Development Authority and also the Housing Authority, there may be some recommendations that will come forward that may affect our business community and our housing. So we want to just keep you up to date that this plan is coming forward. And once we have the final plan, we'll recommend that it comes to CEDA, and Phil's aware that we'll want to review it. for any kind of policies, goals, recommendations, strategies. I met with Phil yesterday, and we went through, Mike and I had gone through the report and had some questions, and also had some things that we wanted to see changed. And so we shared that information with him, and we'll keep you guys up to date with what's going on. Any questions?
I think, Joyce, I have more of a comment than a question. Living in the city a while and seeing a lot of plans developed that are always good and extremely well intended. This is very lengthy. It's very important to us. But I would like to see them prioritize and then share as it goes forward how things are going to be tracked. And I think that goes for the bike plan that I'm also working with Phil on and other things. But we got a lot of things in there if you've taken a look at this. And it's pretty comprehensive, and some may or may not be able to be completed, even though it's the right idea. But I'd like to see how they're going to prioritize and track it, maybe even year by year. So if you could take that back, please. Other comments?
Yes, we were hoping Phil would be here this morning because he gave a presentation to the Housing Advisory Committee that was helpful as far as a previous presentation that they did. But one of the things that Joyce and I have talked about is, the plan is going to have aspirational items, actionable items, and everything. But the one thing we just want to be mindful of is that hopefully those items are kind of aspirational, incentive kind of driven. We get a little nervous when it comes to kind of mandates and requirements for businesses and our residents. So that's something that we've kind of conveyed, and as the process continues to move forward and the plan does, something that we'll continue to hopefully be involved in to kind of look at what are the recommendations and action items there and kind of how are they positioned within the plan.
That's a very good point. So we'll look to you two to track it and keep us advised as to what we need to do and how it impacts this committee into the future. So
I would also be interested in hearing where the money's going to come from to implement this. I mean, there's tons of money being pushed out, and there's no source of funds coincidental with that. We have a lot of usage, but no sources. The other thing that I'm curious about is the solar panel concept that he has. And I know the major utilities are now fighting the rebates or the buyback pricing that currently exists, so that what used to be an incentive to install solar on your house or in your yard and then sell back to the utility the excess that you didn't use, that price is, from the reading that I've done, is dropping precipitously because the utilities no longer want to pay what they charge. And if that's the case, the payback on some of these investments is going to go upside down in a hurry. And I didn't see him address anything like that in here. It's almost a source and use of funds question again. But I think that would be important.
again, Mike and Joyce, would you share that feedback back with Phil? I think Dan raises a good issue, and I'm sure there's other things in there that other members of the committee may know about as it goes forward, because it's a lot. It's a long, detailed plan. So, go ahead, Mike.
Just to reinforce what Dan was just saying, we just met with the Fitchburg business just this week that may look to incorporate solar within a project, and they brought up that very question that they're kind of evaluating that to see if it makes sense to do solar, just because of the economics with the local utilities.
And one of the pitfalls of that is the consumer utility bills have a kilowatt per hour charge, And if the utility is not going to recover its costs in the usage charges, then they're going to get it in a fixed charge, customer charges, every month. I know my cottage up northern Wisconsin, my cost of energy has gone down through less usage, but my bills have gone up through the mandatory fixed charges. And so the yin and the yang is the utility is not going to be shortchanged. The last thing that I had a question on was, I know this past winter when we had that real cold snap, people in Chicago were complaining up the wazoo that they couldn't charge their electric cars. Electric cars took too long to charge, and as I looked into that, it also seemed to be a problem that Chicago has too many renters and not enough stations. And so if you have you own your own home, you can install a station and you can do the charging. But if you're a renter, you don't, especially I guess in Chicago, with their land use plans, you don't have access to a charging station. And so then, and you put that in Fitchburg where we're almost 50% rental. I didn't see that addressed in this report either. And I think that's important that we understand how we're going to meet that demand as we move to the electric vehicles.
I will just let you know, Dan, that some of our newer apartment buildings are actually putting charging stations in their basement. We toured the Irish Fields just a couple weeks ago, and I think they have, did she say 5 charging stations? I don't recall if that number's right, but I know that they have them, and then I also know that Ocala and the new building, Avalon, they both will have them in their basement. So I think they realize that there is a need that we need to take care of. So.
Well, Joyce, if I have 100 units in my apartment complex and 5 charging stations, it ain't going to work.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to go to Hy-Vee maybe.
Well,
Or come here.
I think Dan raises a real good point. Again, I think going back to this committee to develop this, because he is right, is it the push to go to EVs across the country and being able to have charging stations that you can use and live like that, or not have to go down at 2 a.m. to plug it in, is going to be very important. So there needs to be, as we develop, there needs to be that. And more importantly, I think we need to look at some of the public areas. I'm not sure if there's EV out here because I don't have an EV, but
We
is there
have
some
them
EV
here.
outside?
There's some at the community center.
Okay.
I think I saw in the report they're talking about maybe some of the parks putting stations at. So.
Well, still an inventory would be good on that. But I think Dan raises a very good point. As we look at sustainability and the reliance on EVs, we got to charge them up. So.
But I know when we went through the plan, being that we're the housing committee, we looked at maybe some ways that we could, as we look at using our TID dollars and developing programming, one thing we wanted to ask more questions about was the section where it talks about leakage at private homes. And who tracks that? Is there a way that we could maybe come up with a program that would, help finance or fix leaky pipes? I mean, that's one way that we can help with sustainability. And I mean, obviously Phil knows that a lot of this is consumer driven too. There has to be a desire for electric vehicles and riding bikes. So we realize that there's controls we have and controls we don't, because when we were talking about greenhouse gas emissions, I asked about, okay, we have Verona Road that runs through Fitchburg, we have US Highway 14. We can't control the number of vehicles that come through our community. So how does that play into all of this? So we had a lot of good conversations back and forth. Our 1 hour meeting went over 2 hours, so it was good. But we just want to keep everyone abreast of what's going on and know that it's coming forward and stay in tune. Because I know when we brought this up to the Housing Advisory Committee, there were several people that didn't even know that there was a survey out there.
Mario had his hand up, and I want to welcome Mario. So if you could note that Mario joined our meeting, please. Mario, the floor is yours.
Thank you and good morning. Just a quick comment here about EVs and solar. Those are industries that are very dynamic and constantly changing. And yeah, I agree there is a pretty lively conversation about what's the price of solar, given the value that gives to our society and the grid and everyone. But in the last rate case, it was pretty dynamic, the conversation, but nothing changed. So the price is still the same. And I think it might be like that for a couple more years, but we'll see. Now, there is also a way to also have renewable energy without having solar panels on your building, on an installation that you own. So MG&E has a program, Renewable Energy Rider, and you partner with the utility to have solar energy go to your building. You don't own the solar panels, but you enter into agreement where the price of electricity is fixed for the life of the project. That might be an option to consider here. And also, as you might know, in the legislature right now, they are trying to pass a bill that will bring about $78 million to the state to increase charging infrastructure, because that's a big challenge. I have an EV. I was in Chicago that cold day, and I saw a lot of dead EVs in different parking lots. So it was, I think it was a good reality check and where the technology is and given how the climate is changing. And again, I think that the target is carbon emission. So this report, I think it's really good, and I look forward to more conversations. But there are also other technologies like pole-mounted charging station. It's kind of like the latest technology. At MG&E, we just have one installed on the east side of Madison, but there might be others. And I know that some people here, the sustainability team, learn about that and are interested in learning more about that. So there are more technologies coming to the market. I think it will help, but it's a long-term strategy. And I know there's efforts for making sure that the city is bikeable, walkable, and all of that will help in the long run. But it's interesting, so I look forward to staying or being part of the conversation too.
Thank you, Mario. Any other comments about Mike and Joyce's report on the draft sustainability program or plan? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward to item number 8, Economic Development Director and Committee Member Reports. Mike and Joyce, the floor is yours.
I'll kick it off here, and I'm going to share my screen again. One of the first things that we're working on is TID number 18. This is going to be a rehabilitation TID district that is going to run from Cottonwood to the north and Lacey Road to the south. I'm going to see if I can hopefully pull up a map here. Got too many windows open. I'll pull up the timetable instead here. So this is the schedule that we're on. Between February and March, we'll be gathering the inputs, and this will be the parcel information, the project costs that we're anticipating in the district, and then the development assumptions. The one project, we usually don't do speculative TIDs. We usually have at least one project that's going to kind of kick things off. So there's going to be a project coming on some of the Sub-Zero project land, a smaller project that'll be there. And then probably in 2025, there will be another project on land south of Cottonwood that General Beverage owns, that once they complete their headquarters facility, hopefully then they'll proceed with a warehouse and distribution facility on a 7-acre parcel there just south of Cottonwood. But then this area will give us some good land for clean manufacturing, light industrial, which we're in short supply of. So one of the areas is we really don't have a lot of 10-plus acre sites. So working with Payne and Dolan on the reclamation of the quarries, this will start to at least give us some land inventory available, not only for some of our existing businesses that might be looking, but then for new prospects and RFPs that we get through WEDC and MadRep both. This will be, while the uses will be clean manufacturing, light industrial, it actually qualifies to be a rehabilitation TID district because of reclamation of the quarries qualifies for rehabilitation. So that gets us the maximum life, which is 27 years for a district versus 20 years if it was just a straight up industrial tax increment district. So we're working with Ellers, working with our colleagues in Planning and Public Works to look at what those infrastructure items will be. But keep an eye on this. We want to have it approved kind of by mid-June, so we stay on the timetable that Sub-Zero needs for the project that they're looking to do on one of their parcels over there. So any questions on TID number 18? We'll be working with the Joint Review Board and convening them, and then we send out letters. Because it's a rehabilitation district by state statute, we have to send out letters as well to the property owners. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to, just wanted to share some items from the Plan Commission meeting here. A couple of things. That one showing up. I'm not doing very well at opening things here. We've got Inspiration Point, which is the last kind of lot available for development. Here we go. Within the Swan Creek neighborhood. There you go. So we've got East Sherrill Parkway on the south, Crinkle Root on the east, Sassafras on the north, and Blue Stem on the west. And Fred DeVillers, a developer, is going to be doing 60 single-family detached homes in this last area. To the north of Sassafras Drive, you've got some duplex townhomes and units there, and then on the south side are the gardens at Swan Creek, the townhome product there. But this will kind of be the final build-out of that entire Swan Creek neighborhood that has approximately 910 overall dwelling units there. So one of the things we're starting to see, I think, is with the need for housing units, some of the infill sites like this that we have remaining in some neighborhoods, we're finally starting to see some activity and pipeline there, which is helpful as we continue to work on neighborhood plans outside of the urban service area that we're filling in at least some of those areas that are available for housing that are already within the existing.
And Mike, what was the timing on that?
Just got approved on Tuesday night at the Plan Commission, so I think Fred will start to hopefully move forward in the near future here.
Mike, can you back up to the map for a second, please? I'm sorry, Andy.
Go ahead.
You go ahead, Andy.
I had a question on the map as well.
Okay, I have a
Sure.
question on the map. Where's the park? Is it catty-cornered from it?
Right over.
Yeah, right there. That's what I thought.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Andy,
And then
what was your
there's
question?
an apartment building kind of across
Right.
here on the east side of Crinkle Road.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Andy, your comment?
I just wanted to make sure I'm reading this right. So the ones on East Sherrill would be fronting onto East Sherrill. So essentially the front doors of the houses would be out on
Yeah.
East Sherrill with a parking. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And then there's the street that kind of loops through there to connect everything. So that's that one.
I think stay on Andy's point as this goes
Okay.
forward, because, go back to it.
Okay.
You can park on the right side of the street where
There we go.
the units face on the south side, but will you be able to park along East Sherrill in front of those buildings. I know the parking for the cars that live there are in back.
Yeah.
That needs to be looked at as it's developed. So you can move through there, because there is a bike lane through there.
Yeah. I know it gets pretty tight through there.
Right,
With
right.
East Sherrill. Parking on the street.
So I would have them pay attention to that, please.
Okay. Anything else on this map before? Then I'm going to close that one. And
What school district is it in?
I don't know if that's Madison or, yeah. There was some kind of swap that was done. So now I'm going to share, speaking of solar here, we've got another solar project that is coming right here. There we go. And this is kind of the flyer that they had for it. It's another joint venture with EDF Renewables and Madison Gas and Electric. So it's north of Wayland Road, east of Muchler, and then kind of west of our maintenance facility down on South Fish Hatchery Road. So it is a 20 megawatt solar, and then this one actually, unlike the O'Brien solar fields, it incorporates 40 megawatt by 4-hour battery energy storage. That's a unique component of this one. So this got approved for a conditional use permit on Tuesday night at the Plan Commission. And Egan Rural. Thanks, Randy. So that project will be moving forward. And then we've got a concept that this is along Rimrock Road, and the area that came to us as part of the town of Madison annexation. So right at Rimrock and Maloney, where there's a vacant lot there. So we would have Rimrock on the west side here. Another infill development. It's kind of surrounded by existing older single-family ranch homes there. And so we've got some townhome units that kind of front along Rimrock Road, and then some single-family residences that would be on the eastern side of here. So you can see 12 townhome units and then 8 single-family homes. So another nice infill development that, blends in with the existing and surrounding neighborhood there.
Is this the development that failed the minor comp plan last
Yes.
fall?
Yep.
And it's coming back around?
Yep.
Okay, very good.
It got approved for the minor comp plan through the Plan Commission.
Sure.
Becoming a council, and then they'll come forward with additional plans for architectural design and review and next steps in the process. But
you
the
know-
concept plan,
Sure. Do you know when this will be coming before council?
I think it'll be coming next week.
Next week?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who's the developer?
It's a new developer, a woman by the name of Aisha Ali, and then Chowdhury, her dad, Chowdhury Ali, A-L-I. So that's that one. And again, more plans will be coming forward. This was just kind of the concept of what they were envisioning on the site there. But another good infill kind of development there. And then we've got one in Oak Meadows that is just north of where the Noble Ridge condominiums are. And there was a potential another phase for the Noble Ridge condominiums, but that didn't materialize. So in this location, they're actually, instead of having kind of twin home, townhome condominium units, they're reducing the density at this site and going with some single-family lots here. And you can see this is Oak Meadows Park right here, and then you've got the existing Oak Meadows neighborhood, and then the Noble Ridge condominiums to the south here for it. So that one is moving forward. That was a minor comp plan amendment as well.
Approved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still has to go to council.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of giving, these went through the plan commission, so they still have to go to the council yet, but it gives you a preview of things. And then the next one is where the View Apartments are along Index Road and by Post Road there. On the east side of Index Road, there's still a lot that is owned by the Bowman family. And our friends at Adventure Capital are acquiring that lot from the Bowman family. And they're proposing a unique concept called the Fitchburg Artist Lofts here. And what's unique about this one is it's going to have residential units, but it's also going to have some commercial space. That's kind of a U-shaped concept here, and it's going to have commercial space for folks that are kind of focused on arts and culture, where they could have like some live-work units with studios and some commercial space in the area. So Mike and Ned are working on this from Adventure Capital. They were on the Plan Commission for, they're going to be using Plan Development District zoning. And so this was the first step in that process, which is the pre-application, just to kind of share the concept with the Plan Commission to see if it makes sense and kind of what they're proposing kind of fits within the parameters of PDD. So this would include approximately 121 apartment units, and then there would be about 24,000 square feet of that commercial space, and it would be about 4 floors. So this shows kind of the little courtyard area with the commercial space. And then the next one I'm going to show here just shows then the one of the kind of floor plan layouts for then
Mike,
the
was there
apartment units.
was there business like retail or anything?
It seems like there
associated with
would be
that? Yeah.
incorporated as far as with those live work.
Coffee shops or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're excited about this concept, along Index Road in our Forward Fitchburg City in Motion strategic plan. This area has already kind of evolved into kind of a music and kind of arts and culture, district. This is where Copa is located in the one warehouse building there. We've got the Madison Opera already has space up there, and Music Foundry and stuff. So we don't have a lot of those older areas of the city where there's kind of that warehouse district space that sometimes evolves into these kind of, vibe and trendy kind of places. So maybe this is one of those areas for us in Fitchburg. So when we were talking with Mike and Ned about this, we were intrigued, by the concept. And Joyce has put Ned in contact with Ann Katz at Wisconsin Arts Board, and then a gentleman at Dane County that's also involved with the arts. So he's been kind of doing his due diligence with that, and so we're excited to see this concept come forward and what might be some unique opportunities in our community. So that's kind of a preview of some of the items, and then I think I mentioned at the last CETA meeting that we have a new hotel project that is going to be coming along Nesbitt Road at the corner of Nesbitt Road and Limestone, right adjacent to the lot where Pancake Cafe is located. So they came forward with their comprehensive, the amendment to the comprehensive development plan that they needed to do for the larger Orchard Point comprehensive development plan. So that continues to move forward, got approved, and then they'll come with architectural design and review at the next Plan Commission meeting. They're hoping to break ground either in May or June, and that'll be a 100-room hotel at that site. So again, we had a great year with hotel room tax, and hopefully if we add more inventory, those numbers will continue to increase and go up. And that's another project by our colleague and friend, Raveen Shah, who already owns the Staybridge Suites in Fitchburg. Really nice quality hotel there, and he's now bringing us a second one kind of adjacent to that project. So we're excited to see that one go forward. And that's going to be a Marriott flagged product, which is something that we've been wanting to see in Fitchburg as well. So any questions on those projects? Then I'm going to shift quickly to some of our housing programs and just give an update on those. We just had a meeting yesterday. Right now I'm on the affordable within market rate. This is the concept where we would work with a developer to incorporate 10% of the units at 60% of Dane County median income. And hopefully the pilot project will be the one that's under construction on Index Road right now that Venture Capital is doing, that has 172 units. And right now it would be strictly a market rate project, but for maybe the city of Fitchburg and CETA participating through the TID district to provide assistance if they would go with 10% of the units at 60% of median income. So Mike and Ned submitted an updated pro forma to our financial advisors at Ellers. And so Joyce and I just got the first preview yesterday of their initial analysis of those numbers. So the next step in that process is we want Ellers to hopefully do a presentation internally to city administration, finance, and legal to kind of get their thoughts on the program parameters and everything. And then hopefully if we have a comfort level kind of as a city staff team, then we'll start to bring it forward to both the Housing Advisory Committee, CETA, as well as Finance and Council to take a look at there. An interesting thing is when we first started talking about this, we were thinking it would be kind of following our traditional TID model that we've used here, where it would be a pay-as-you-go developer bond. But interestingly enough, Keith Dahl, who works out of the Minnesota office for Ellers, kind of floated the idea of a deferred loan that would be part of this program. And maybe instead of using it through the active open TID district, with our $8 million that we have in the bank in our affordable housing fund, that maybe we would take some of that money and do it as a deferred loan. And the benefit of doing that would be then it wouldn't be one-time money that's out the door. It would be something that would replenish itself. It would be a longer time frame because you'd probably be talking about 20 years if that's the time frame that we want to maintain that affordability at 60%. But it was an interesting conversation yesterday. Joyce and I were learning a lot, and this was the first kind of glance that we've got at the pro forma. And Ellers is really good because they've worked with various communities both in Wisconsin and in Minnesota defining some of these program parameters. So this is new for us, and as soon as we kind of have a comfort level to start to bring it forward to committees and council, hopefully in the next month or two here, we'll have some of that information for you. Randy?
So basically what you're describing is that bucket of money that we have, that $8 million or whatever, there is a chance that maybe a program could sustainable. I mean, we could continue to maintain it. It's not a one-time payout. Yeah. And something that would be, we would be able to continue to work with other affordable programs and keep that going, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, even if with the deferred loan, we'd be waiting for 20 years for it, to repay back, but it at least would be something that would kind of be a replenishment of those funds, over time, because even though $8 million seems like a lot to, work with towards affordable housing, once we use those dollars, if they're kind of one and done, Finance Director Misty Dodges, kind of indicated that we probably will not have another TID district that will close for another 10 to 12 years. So there's not going to be, through the statutory, option that we have to keep successful TID districts open an extra year that then goes into the Affordable Housing Fund. We're not going to be replenishing those dollars through successful TIDs for at least another 10 or 12 years. So any programs that we devise that somehow have incorporated in it a kind of a replenishment, or like with our rent-to-own and endowment component, if it works that way, would help us have a more sustainable programs, over time.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so like I said, we're learning, and we'll see if that's, specifically the model that makes sense, and we'll expand the audience that starts to help us vet that, working with Ellers. But we got a great team at Ellers that helps us kind of think about things and sort through pluses and minuses of different program models that might be available to us. So then the next one is the rent-to-own program. So that one, Our consultants, Mike and Steve, who used to be with Ellers and now have their own affordable housing consulting firm, H&A Advisors, and they've been here before with kind of the initial program ideas and models. They updated the program model to reflect kind of current economic conditions, not only construction costs, but especially where the interest rates are at right now. And then we had our legal analysis done through Quarles. You might remember we issued RFPs for both the legal risks from a real estate perspective, but then also from a programmatic perspective. And so we've got that information being shared internally with city administration, and then it'll go to finance and our city attorney. And then once they've had a chance to review that, then we will start to bring that forward as well to CETA, Housing Advisory Committee, Finance, and Council to see where we want to go with that program. That's the one, as you might remember, would be a rent-to-own townhome endowment program focused specifically on people that are at 80% plus of Dane County median income. And hopefully it would be modeled that they would transition from renting to a conventional mortgage within a 10-year period. But that would be under that same model, Randy, where it would replenish itself, as they transition to conventional mortgages there. So we're hopeful yet on that one. If that kind of gets the green light from committees and policymakers, the administration had asked us to do more due diligence on that program as well, to maybe look at potential partners that maybe it wouldn't be done specifically by CETA, but maybe we would work with somebody like the Urban League, Commonwealth of Madison, who's done some of those programs. We're also going to reach out to Habitat for Humanity and just see, is it something that where they've got some expertise and capacity where they've done some of those types of projects, primarily single family. So this would be a little bit different with the townhome product there. But we'll see where those conversations go going forward.
Partners on the mortgages as well. I know that
Yeah.
mortgages can be a little tricky when you're doing a rent-to-own scenario. So that might complicate. So maybe early discussions.
And our consultants, when they were putting the program model together, they actually met with State Bank of Cross Plains, Park Bank. There were like 3 that they met with to go through the program model and kind of get the banking and lending perspective. Yeah, so they've done some of that on the front end, for us. And there's interest, and they're intrigued, by the concept in the program there. But I know administration has questions and concerns specifically about the risks to the city and to CETA there. So that's why we were doing some of that additional due diligence, and Quarles was the firm that provided some additional information and perspective about how we could mitigate those risks, going forward. And then, Joyce, do you want to give an update on the Efficiency Navigator program? Remember, we've got 3 programs kind of going simultaneously here, and Efficiency Navigator we're getting ready to launch.
So we're still working with our finance department on the funding part of the Efficiency Navigator contract, because we may need to look to do something a little creative in order to get the program off and launched and contractors paid. So we'll keep you posted on where we're at with that. And since we're talking about the Efficiency Navigator program, Phil and I received an email this past week from the City of Madison, who is looking to launch a request for an EPA loan to do a similar Efficiency Navigator program that would focus on underserved communities, but owner-occupied. If you remember, our Efficiency Navigator program is going to be focused on those NOAA, the naturally occurring affordable housing units, and our focus is going to be that 16 unit and less. So we're going to probably investigate maybe doing something with the City of Madison, and they've already identified the areas of where we would focus on. So that's kind of exciting. We need to learn a little bit more about our partnerships, but this is really picking up a lot of steam. If you recall, earlier in November, I think it was, we applied for a grant with the City of Madison, the City of Middleton, the City of Sun Prairie, and Fitchburg to see if we can get funding from the EPA to actually do it's a planning grant to kind of finalize the Efficiency Navigator program. So get some like actual marketing materials and benchmarks and things like that. If we're successful with that grant, then we are able to move on to the phase 2, which would actually bring some funding forward for implementation of the program. And since we've been talking about this kind of statewide, Eau Claire has expressed an interest in also doing the Navigator program. So Sustain Dane and Elevate Energy are kind of talking with Eau Claire too about how this program could work there. So we've got a lot of momentum going as far as, getting some good upgrades, which will help with our sustainability plan as well. So that's all I have to report for now. Any questions?
And I just have 3 more things.
Okay, continue.
Okay. We're continuing to work with Colburn Hundley. This is now on the west side of the city, on the quarry site across from Super Target and west of Fitzroy Road. A gentleman by the name of Jeff Hundley is working with Bob Shea to put together a comprehensive development plan for what we call the outfield there. So it's not the infield where the Wingra plant is. It's just that outfield portion. So hopefully he's going to start to come forward with a comprehensive development plan that as you're going from south to north on that western side of Fitzroy Road would be primarily commercial. It might be anchored by one large box with some outlot users, or it might be kind of a mix of junior boxes with then those outlots. So he's trying to determine what's the best fit and what makes the most sense over there. So he's been in conversations with our city planner, Deanna, and myself on that one. The other one that we're focused on now, I'm shifting to the east side of the city. Our friends at Rutabaga, they moved to Fitchburg and built a building about a year ago and opened that. There's a lot to the west of that building that overlooks the detention and retention pond there. They're looking to maybe do another mixed-use building on that lot to the west. That might also incorporate some workforce housing as well. So they're putting some concepts together. Deanna and I met with them about 2 weeks ago. And so as those plans continue to get refined, we'll keep you updated on that. And then you might have seen last week in the newspaper that on the east side in uptown Fitchburg, there might be a potential physical rehabilitation hospital joint venture with UW Health that we're really excited about, hopefully being one of the next kind of catalytic projects in the uptown Fitchburg area there, and as part of the kind of healthcare anchor that has always been envisioned in that campus. So prior to the announcement, City Administrator Chad Brecklin and I had met with UW, so we knew that there was a potential project coming, the first of what would be, a larger campus over there with healthcare and medical kind of thing. So we're excited that this will hopefully get that jump-started and kicked off. So as we learn more about that, we'll keep you posted on those projects as well.
Anything else, Mike?
Nope, that's it.
Or Joyce?
Joyce has the next one.
Okay. Joyce, you're up.
So in the state budget, there was $575 million allocated for housing. So we had WIDA come out to, and that's WIDA with an H, come out to our Housing Advisory Committee to talk about the new programs and see if there's ways that the city of Fitchburg could capitalize on some of the programming. as with most things, there's like cause and effect. So if you want to get money, you have to do something. So we are, so with this new pot of money, there's a few things that the city would need to do in order to qualify for these 3 programs. And thus, we have a memo because we have a challenge again because we don't have authority to tell anybody within the city that we have to look at policies. So at the Housing Advisory Committee meeting, the housing group asked staff to draft a memo to CETA because they're advisory to not only CETA, but the Plan Commission and the Council. So the memo was drafted to say, hey, we would like to capitalize on some of these funding opportunities. However, the law requires that the city do certain benchmarking before someone can qualify. So I included in your packet the presentation that WIDA did, and then also some of the qualifications that need to be done in order for either the city to apply or our development community. Some of them of the kind of the main street, we don't have a lot of older, underutilized downtown properties, so that's one area where we probably wouldn't capitalize on. But there are some, the developer infrastructure loan project might be one that some of our development community or the city might want to capitalize on. So we're at a crossroads because we're not sure how to move this forward. So I guess I'm asking our council representatives to maybe talk amongst themselves and see take a feel from the elected officials as to, okay, do we need to check some of these things off the boxes in order to be able to apply for these funding sources? And if those of you who have been on CETA for a while, you recall that we kind of ran through this same thing when we were talking about accessory dwelling units. There was definitely a positive response from this committee to look at our ordinance to make some changes. We had sent an email, or we sent a memo to the council and mayor, but nothing was proposed at that time. So I guess we're at a crossroads, and maybe we could get some advice from our elected officials as to how we move some of these things forward when they not only affect our department, but they affect other departments. And also there's some financial things. So the 2 outstanding things that the Housing Advisory Committee had brought before CETA was the ADUs, and then also looking at some of our fee structures and how we compare to our peer communities. So those are 2 items that are still kind of outstanding that we're not sure how to move forward with.
And also, I'll just add, time is of the essence with this because there were some deadlines that need to be paid attention to for the application for the money.
Sure. You continue to look over at me, but is there something that's coming before council we would make a decision on, or are you talking behind, in some conversations with, how would that happen? I'm certainly in support of affordable housing, and I'd like to see it move forward. What would I do or other elected officials do to make this move forward? We can have a further conversation and
I guess staff, we're kind of stuck in the middle of what our committees want us to do and what our elected officials want us to do. So we're looking for advice as to, okay, these are some of the issues that are out there, and I mean, they're part of our plan. You know, some of these things were included in our housing plan, and as, you know, we look at our action items, we can't check the box off because we're not really, we can't tell the council, hey, we need to do this. You know, I don't know if it's a discussion that we have at a committee of the whole meeting, or how this works.
Yeah, no, I think a committee of the whole would be an ideal forum for that discussion. My concern is we just may walk away with, we may have had the conversation, but I'm not sure what's going to be executed. Because we don't vote on anything at the committee of the whole. So, I mean, we may have great conversation, but I don't know, maybe it'll answer your questions. I don't have that answer, or maybe the mayor can, you know, since she's in that leadership role, maybe she can move things forward as well from a large perspective.
I think the first step is maybe CETA kind of recommending that the Housing Advisory Committee memo go forward to the City Council.
Sure.
So that way, Randy, you could kind of take that forward on behalf of CETA to get the discussion kind of started to report out. But it really is a larger discussion because, you know, like some folks, and as part of, to qualify for these funds, one thing, you know, that could be looked at would be, would there be some kind of adjustment to our fee structure? But as Joyce pointed out, that's a larger conversation in the city, because while there may be interest in adjusting fees, that has that cause and effect as far as, you know, our budget, you know, resources, and as we go through the 2025 budget. And I don't think you're going to see a one-off discussion where we do it mid-year. I think it would have to be part of our actual looking ahead to 2025.
Agreed.
You know, budget cycle there, and then how is that incorporated into the overall fee structure? When the housing advisory or the housing plan was done in 2019, when you looked at the fees there was a one-time analysis done to see how Fitchburg fees compared to other communities, peer communities. And in that one, the outlier for Fitchburg was it was our fee in lieu of and park dedication, where compared to peer communities, we were higher. So one of the recommendations that came out of the last memo that the Housing Advisory Committee and CETA sent forward to the council with ADUs was, as the park and open space plan was being updated, there was a question asked, could we look at kind of our fee in lieu of parkland dedication and park improvement fees? My understanding is coming out of that plan now, that's one of the potential future action items. Is that correct, Joyce, that they may look at that with the recent plan update that they did? So it wasn't done as part of the plan, but it might be one of those to-do items that they would look at in the future. Am I correct on that? Okay. Okay, that's going to be coming forward. We ask that they bring that forward to CETA, so that may be a question in the future when they bring that plan, you know, forward to us. Now, when we were at the Housing Advisory Committee, Brian McKee, who's on the Housing Advisory and very knowledgeable about some of this legislation and everything, you know, I asked the question, is it just kind of financial and fee-based, you know, that we have to make some adjustments in order to qualify for some of these programs? Or could it be other efficiencies through the process here for, you know, development review and entitlement? And it sounds like that also qualifies. So one of the things that we did just within the last year, we switched to utilizing E-Plan in our building inspection department. So plans that are submitted for review, we've got kind of a guaranteed time frame for that review to be done, and I want to say it's like 15 days, which really accelerates, you know, the review of those plans and the approvals. So I think we want to kind of learn more too, to say, you know, is that already something that we can kind of check the box to say that, you know, we've accelerated the development review process, you know, for certain types of building plans that have come through, you know, for the city. So, maybe we're making some progress in some areas, but I think it's got to be a larger conversation, even with the parkland dedication and fee in lieu of. Who knows what the outcome of that discussion might be, because our community, at least to date, green space and parkland dedication is something that is valued here in Fitchburg and is a priority for our community. So I don't know if when we have that discussion, if the decision will ultimately be decided by the policymakers to change that or not. Even though our review of the housing plan showed that we were higher in that capacity. So it's really a larger community conversation, and my gut feeling is we're probably not going to be able to move as fast as maybe some of these program funds are available. It's going to take a little longer, but we can at least take that memo forward if CETA would decide to recommend what the Housing Advisory Committee had brought forward, and at least let the policymakers know and make them aware of it. And then, as I've mentioned at the Housing Advisory Committee, the other thing that we're doing internally here is that will also involve external is we're going to be doing the city's first strategic plan ever. That's going to identify our priorities kind of over kind of a 1 to 5 year period here. So this may get, may become part of that conversation too, because we've got staff going in a lot of different directions, at this point in time, and we've got 2 neighborhood plans that are being done. We're going to start the comp plan. So it's also where do we have that capacity, to look at and to do some of these kind of things too. So I'm just kind of setting the framework in there that let's at least get it in front of policymakers so they're aware of it, and then they can help us determine where do we go next.
Right. It has to come before us to.
Yeah.
Well, and again, timing-wise, so it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts to this, and whether it's all going to be able to get done. The application, it's all April. So the applications are available early mid-April. Applications are due at the end of April, and awards are announced late May and June. So I don't know. We maybe have to check with Rebecca, but I don't know if this is just the second round of funds or if they're going to completely deplete the entire fund. I can't remember
What she said is there'll be another cycle in like November.
Okay, that's right.
And I think it'll be an ongoing program until the funds are depleted.
Okay.
It was in 23-25 biennium budget, so I'm guessing we'll have till then to.
Because I think the first round was $3 million that they already.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of money yet to be allocated. But there's on the action items, there's some pretty big things that have to happen, like your zoning code needs to be reviewed. Well, that's just not something that happens overnight. Comprehensive plans need to be looked at. Fee structures, your approval process, expediting certain things. So there's a whole host of things that go along with this legislation that, that we need to look at it. And this happens all the time, so it's not anything new, but we have to figure out a way for committees to get initiatives brought before the council, at least for a discussion. Because Mike and I get our committee members asking us, oh, what happened with this and what happened with this? And, we say, well, we brought it forward, but we haven't received any feedback. So
When you say you brought it forward, what does that mean? You brought it forward in a resolution and council discussed and voted on and voted it down? Or?
No, we just had it on the agenda. Mm-hmm. And it came out in the packet, but I don't know if anything happened.
You're talking about in committee?
No, to the council.
To the council, and where was it discussed? Because, we have we vote
I think it went under the committee report.
It was a memo that was sent previously through the housing advisory. That was the one, Randy, with the ADUs.
Okay.
And to, potentially look at the fee structure and everything. And then the planning department did do some analysis of ADUs. And then there was the at least conversation to say maybe coming out of the park and open space plan that maybe we would look at, kind of the fee in lieu of dedication, parkland dedication, and also park improvement, fees. So we did bring that again to the attention of the policymakers, and that's where those items are at this point in time. So I think in this situation, it would again be bringing forward this memo from the Housing Advisory Committee if CETA is so inclined to at least get it on the council's radar screen. What's interesting is some of the items that Joyce was just mentioning, like the comp plan, the zoning code rewrite, we have those in our queue. Because after the 2 neighborhood plans are done, we're planning to do a major comp plan update starting the second half of 2024. And as part of that process, it's also planning to include eventually a zoning code rewrite, a sign code update, and those kind of things. So we know that we need to do those things, but again, it's the timing of it, and that's where I think we definitely aren't going to meet April or November here, but future funding cycles, I think we've got things lined up that we know that we need to do those items. It's just a matter of when are we going to be able to get those completed with all of the stuff that's going on at this point in time. But I think that first step is just bringing forward that memo to council to get it on the radar screen, and that's what I think the Housing Advisory Committee was recommending, is to at least start that conversation and have us start to look into some of these things.
Sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, or refresh my memory. Council approved a person dedicated specifically for housing.
Yes.
And has that role been filled? If so, did I miss it?
No, the position description has been drafted, and then it went to the consulting firm that we use to kind of figure out where it is in the organizational chart. And it went to the Personnel Committee on Tuesday night. And so now we will start the recruitment process.
Okay, so it is in the process
as part of
still.
that.
Okay.
Yep.
This sounds like a perfect project for that
Exactly.
person to
Well,
start
that's
with.
where my thought was going. Yes, and
Yeah.
I think that just shows you the commitment that council has. I don't know what the breakdown was on the voting, but obviously it was approved, and I gave my go ahead for it. So there's a commitment from this council that we need to, or we'd like to see something move forward in this direction. So.
Yes.
So let's put this on our agenda, and I guess circle back next month and kind of, it'd be nice to kind of see the points to take it through and what needs to get done and what's missing. If the housing person's a piece of that, then where they fit in. And I think, because I remember this discussion a couple years ago, and I remember the fee structure for parks specifically being discussed. The key is, as Joyce is saying, there's so many irons in the fire for the city and our leaders, is where does this fit and what do we need to do? And if there's money limitations or not timing, we got to make sure we don't lose that as well. And
Right.
I doubt if we're going to hit anything in April, so can we get to November if we want something? So, well, maybe not. So that's, yeah. So then what happens there? So anyway, I think we need to keep it on our priority list to work on somehow.
Are you inclined to make a motion today to recommend taking forward to council the Housing Advisory Committee memo? Because again, they're advisory to CETA and everything, and just say we would encourage the council, we would encourage sending this memo to council and encourage them to start to at least have the conversation and begin to look into things.
I would be inclined to make that motion.
I'll second.
There we go.
Then at least we keep the momentum going forward from the Housing Advisory Committee and at least start to get it in front of the policymakers that these programs are out there and funding is out there, but that if we want to be eligible to apply both as the city and or developers, there are certain things we're going to need to do.
Correct.
For that funding.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mike, Joyce?
Could we get a vote
I'm
on the
sorry, I'm
motion,
sorry.
please?
There was a motion made that I made, seconded by Randy.
And I think Mario had his hand up as well.
Go ahead,
Just
Joe.
point of order. I don't think the chair makes the motion, so I think somebody else besides you needs to make your mark.
Okay.
Isn't that correct?
I don't have it in front of me.
I can make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion's been made by Council Maldonado, seconded by Council Alder Udell. Is there further discussion of the resolution? or motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Joe.
No problem.
All right. Okay, Mike and Joyce, go ahead, proceed.
I don't have anything additional
Okay.
to report.
Joyce?
I'll just report that there's a business after 5, is that what it's called, or?
After hours.
After hours?
Yeah.
On February 29th at Benvenuto's. There's also a candidate forum sponsored by the Chamber, and that is March 5th at the Hop House from 11:30 to 1. And then I'm just going to ask a favor. We are working on the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan, and there is a survey out there with some different concepts. And I would ask that the CETA members fill out the survey, knowing that we're in need of some light industrial land. Not telling you what to put, but it's a natural. You can say it.
Well, I'll chime in. And in both the South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan and the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan, from CETA's perspective, it's the overall community needs. So we are in need of good, clean industrial, manufacturing land, both on the east and west sides of the city. But as far as those neighborhood plans, we're also in need of additional housing stock across the continuum of housing, everything from additional multifamily to condominium or zero lot line kind of product, to starter single family, to higher end single family, to senior housing out there. So as you're kind of following those neighborhood plan processes and participating in the surveys, I think look at it through that lens of what are all of those needs of the city of Fitchburg, and what is a good kind of healthy and balanced mix to meet those needs through the perspective of your role here as part of the Community Economic Development Authority. But definitely participate and offer your perspective. We would appreciate that.
Okay.
I'll send you the link.
Thank you, Joyce. I was going to ask for that. Anything else from our city staff? No. Okay, then we'll move into announcements, number 9. Does anybody in the committee have an announcement they'd like to make?
Could
Yes,
I ask
Mike.
just one question of the kind of the 2 bike cyclists here? I just noticed on the front door here a gold sticker. Could you just kind of share that with the public?
I'll go ahead and do it. As we try and move towards a goal, I'll make this brief. As we try and move to gold as a city, we're currently at silver. And as we got our report last May, there was a list of things the Bike League said we should do as a city to increase to become gold, which is both it's mainly a tourist thing and a livability thing in the city. It also ties heavily into sustainability in the long run. But the city applied to be a bike-friendly business, and it says that you've got such things as, we've got B cycles here that will be here in the spring again. We have approved bike parking. There's an encouragement of people to ride their bikes to work if they can do that. And it's all about supporting biking as part of the culture here at the city. We have 16 businesses right now that have been chosen as bike-friendly businesses in the city, or applied. It's an application process. And Steve Arnold and I are currently working with 10 more right now to apply. And I know for a fact that Hop House just applied on Monday, and I'm meeting with Encompass Health later next week. But again, the more businesses that get engaged with cycling, the more that we're going to have it be a culture within the fabric within our city. So that's what it's all about. And the Chamber is also, for example, a member of bike-friendly businesses. We have K&L Engineering. Again, we've taken the list of key businesses in the city, and if you know of anybody we should be talking to, let us know. So that's what that project is. There's a deadline March 5th. The next one's June 3rd. But again, we have 15 right now, hoping to get to 25. Madison has over 200. So they're significantly out ahead of us with this. But it's all about the culture and providing things. Another example is, do you provide showers for your staff if they ride their bike to work? And Andy, as we know, rides his bike everywhere and does ride to work every day. So, Andy, would you add anything else to that, Andy?
Yeah, I think that's right. And then just to be clear that the gold designation is for the city of Fitchburg, as in the people who are in this building, not the city of Fitchburg, the legal entity that's 36 square miles. We're still silver in that ranking, but are going to gold. So just in case there's any confusion as to why there's a gold sticker as opposed to the city being ranked as silver.
That's the key. That's the key distinction. It's the business itself versus the city, and the silver ranking is indeed the city, and that's what we're working to gold. But to do that, we've got to have these 10 or 12 extra components be improved, or start from scratch on some. Another good example is slowing traffic down in the city, and we'll be looking to our alder leadership to help that get focused on over the next couple of years. Another situation that we're working on is parking in our city and area parks. And I've submitted a plan to put parking. We have some of our community and area parks that don't have parking for bikes. We got a plan to get there. I've got commitment of money to the bike committee, and so it's just pieces we're putting together. So thanks for that clarification, Andy.
But did one other comment, just some kudos to Mark and to Steve. I believe it wasn't this last round, but the one prior, I believe Fitchburg had more recipients of bike-friendly businesses than, I think the next closest would have been the entire state of California.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely doing a lot of work and getting a significant number of businesses.
It does take a lot of work, and you have to sit down with people and fill out these applications, because the business may not know about all the bike rides that go on around this city that are certainly a part of they can participate in. So it's just, as I said, it's all building blocks to move us forward. And our bike committee gave a plan to the mayor and Chad last January about how we move to this. And we have Council Alder Maldonado is on our committee as well, and extremely engaged in helping us move all this forward. So it's all a piece. It all comes together with everything we're trying to do, and it's a priority. Where it fits in the long run is a big issue. So, does that answer your question?
Thanks for all your efforts
Well, thank you.
to move us in that direction.
It's good to see progress. So, is there anything else from the committee? If not, I will let you know that our next meeting is March 28th. And I personally will be out of town, and Vice Chair Potts will be chairing the meeting. So thank you, Andy, for stepping up to do that. And I'll be following up with Mike and Joyce and after this meeting on some other things, and we will go from there. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alder Udell and seconded by Mr. Potts. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, folks, and have a great day. It's beautiful outside.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.